This morning, we remember nearly 3,000 lives lost 19 years ago in the worst terror attack this country has ever seen. In about 30 minutes, we will pause for a moment of silence to mark the moment the first plane hit the World Trade Center. That was 19 years ago. And you will see ceremonies to remember the attacks in Lower Manhattan, at the Pentagon, and at the Flight 93 Memorial near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. In all, more than 2,700 people were killed at the World Trade Center alone, including hundreds of New York City firefighters and other first responders. Right now, more than a dozen recent FDNY Academy graduates are children of fallen 9/11 heroes. And they are now weeks away from completing their standard probationary period and becoming full-on firefighters. Among them, two brothers, Leonard and Anthony Ragaglia. We spoke to them about their decision to follow in their father's legacy.
It was a bright Tuesday morning 19 years ago when terrorists turned commercial airliners into weapons of mass destruction. Thousands of lives lost, gone in an instant.
What came down, though? What came down? The crash. The other trade center's down. It's down. It's down. What's down?
As people ran away from the danger in Lower Manhattan, first responders ran toward it, including about half of New York City's fire units.
Come down the steps, everything fine till we got to the basement, and then everything just fell in.
In the final tally, 343 firefighters never returned that morning, including 15 men from Engine 54, known as the Pride of Midtown.
This is the actual roll call from 9/11?
Yep, that's the exact roll call.
What happened to everyone else on that list?
Everybody passed away that day.
On that one and that one?
Yep.
Why leave that up? Why walk by that every day?
Like they always say, you know, you never forget. You have that memory of how great those guys were.
Every member of the FDNY lost a friend or a colleague that morning, but Leonard and Anthony Ragaglia, just kids at the time, lost something more.
What do you remember of that morning?
My grandmother picked me up from school that day. We went home, and you know, they eventually had said, you know, your dad is missing, we're looking for him. Everyone's just sitting around watching the TV, you know, waiting by the phone, hoping for the best.
Leonard Ragaglia Sr., their father, was just 36 years old.
How do you think he would have felt seeing you guys wear these uniforms?
I think he would have felt very proud of it.
Extremely proud, yes.
He had passed away, you know, doing what he loved to do, help people, and that's the reason why I chose this job. And, you know, I have the honor and privilege of working in the same firehouse that he worked in, the same company. So it really means a lot to me.
I always had admiration, always looked up to my dad and what he did. And then I think as I matured and as the time went on, year after year, it became more and more of something I wanted to do.
Leonard Jr. remembers visiting his dad at the firehouse, the very same one where he now works.
Has it changed much since when you were a kid?
No, it looks the same. I even have the honor of working with a few guys that worked with my dad. They still work in this firehouse today.
Really? What do they say about him?
Oh, great, funny stories. They said, you know, he was the biggest guy in the house. That when he would go work out in the gym, the next guy's workout would be taking all his weights off.
I could see you inherited some of that.
A little bit. So, you know, even if we're cooking a meal in the kitchen, they'd be like, oh, your father would have put 2 sticks of butter, not just one.
He's, you know, gets to see firsthand what it was like through the guys to work with my dad. But just, you know, even though I'm in a different borough, different house and stuff like that, just knowing that I do what he did, it really brings me a long way and helps me every day to do what I love to do.
After the academy, Anthony joined Engine 217 in Brooklyn.
We keep hearing calls coming in just as we're sitting here right now. I think those are calls, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You ever think that the next call could be a call like the one your father went to?
You always have the chance of that happening, but just as he did, I'd be ready to go, and I'd feel honored doing it, knowing that that was what he was doing that day. So I'd feel honored.
It was a tragedy for your family, and it has so much meaning for your households. How do you hope America remembers 9/11?
I just hope that any of the memorials or stuff that they do every year never goes away. You know, it's something that can't be pushed to the side. Everybody needs to know what happened that day, the tragedy, and the the guys that gave their lives need to be remembered.
Why is it important to remember?
I think, you know, they always say we will never forget, and it should be something that is instilled years and years later, no matter how much time passes, because I think the event itself shows you the danger of what they really go through every day and what can happen on any day.
It's an amazing thing talking to those guys, and to see what is in that firehouse there in Midtown, the call sheet on the whiteboard from the day of,
That gave me
19
chills.
years ago.
And they see their dad's
name is there, and people have written notes over the years. We love you, we miss you, that kind of thing. He was, NOZ is next to his name. That means he was on the nozzle, so he would have been at the end of the hose.
Yeah. And there's signage like that in every firehouse in New York City, because as you point out, 343 firefighters lost their lives that day.
But you know, when we keep looking at the video of 9/11, as we always do on these days, it's still so hard to believe that the day was so beautiful and the sky was so clear.
Gail,
it's incomprehensible that that could happen here in the United States.
Every time those pictures play, I still get a visceral reaction in my gut. I am like upset immediately.
Yes, yes, it does turn all of that up. But I was so touched by the brothers that at least they could laugh, that they could hear good memories about their dad.
I know.
And that picture, Tony, that you showed of the dad and they're both kissing him on either cheek. That's the thing that just melts your heart. That they will always have that.
It's so great they're carrying on their father's tradition.
And there are about 10 other young firefighters also carrying on a family tradition. And I think as we approach the 20th anniversary next year, you're going to see even more of that, because all of these 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds who were kids on 9/11, they're now becoming adults and making their own mark on the world.
And I think the brothers make a good point where they say, we hope no one ever forgets. We will never forget. I think that's why it's so important to have that ceremony that we have every year, even though it's different this year because of COVID. I don't think that would ever stop. It's so important to do.
No, we won't. We won't. That's right.
Bravo to the brothers. They're both great.
Yeah, I like them a lot. It was good to spend
both
some
great.
time with
When did you do that? When did you shoot?
Yesterday afternoon.
Yesterday? Wow.
That's a fast one.
Yeah.
All right.